Dr. Matt here at Align Life. We are back for another episode of Ask the Docs. Last week we did a video on stretching that went really well, a lot of good responses from it, and we got even more questions this week. We're going to shift gears into nutrition. Someone asked, what can I eat for strong bones that does not include dairy? So what we're going to go over today is how you can incorporate or eat for bone health without having to eat dairy products. We all know we need to get our foods with calcium and also vitamin D. We also need to be getting foods that have vitamin K, vitamin A, zinc, and magnesium. So I'm going to go through and break down every one of those and give you some foods that you can eat that fall into each category, but also you should be paying attention to ones that are overlapped, because a lot of these foods you can put into many of these categories. Okay, so let's start with calcium. So calcium you can get in a lot of foods other than dairy. Some would be dark green leafy vegetables, which would include kale, spinach, collards, broccoli. You can even get them through seeds, including chia seeds. I love to put chia seeds in my shakes because it's really easy. You don't even taste it, and they have a lot of good antioxidants, and it's also a good source of calcium. Sesame seeds would be another option. You can find them in fatty fishes like sardines. Sardines actually has the highest source of calcium out of all the things I'm mentioning. If you don't like sardines, you can go something more like a salmon. Salmon also has high sources of calcium. Almonds are a good source of calcium, as well as oranges. All right, so vitamin D is the most important of everything that we're going to talk about. Vitamin D is actually an immune modulator, which means it controls the immune system. So in order to have a healthy immune system, you have to have the right levels of vitamin D. Other studies are also showing that there's a lower risk of respiratory infection when your vitamin D levels are where they should be. That's why so many health experts are recommending to get your vitamin D checked, because during COVID-19, the two things we know are you need to have your healthy immune system, and you also want a lower risk for respiratory infection. Other correlations with low vitamin D are depression, and I'm going to explain why in a minute. Also, to lower your blood pressure, you want to have good levels of vitamin D. And we also know that vitamin D can increase calcium absorption by 20%. So the three ways that you're going to get vitamin D are going to be through sun, supplementation, and then through your foods. The best way is to get it through sun. Now, I mentioned before that there's higher levels of depression with decreased vitamin D. We've all heard of the winter blues. You're not getting as much sunlight from basically fall to spring. So that would be a good time that you want to actually supplement or make sure you're eating a lot of good foods with vitamin D, because you're not going to get as much sun. Now, sunlight, that's our best way to get it. Usually 20 to 30 minutes a day out in the sun. For most people, we'll give them their recommended amount, but that's going to depend on a few factors. One, the higher cortisol or stress levels that you have, the less amount of vitamin D you're actually going to absorb. Also, your age. So the older you are, the less easy it is to synthesize the vitamin D that you get from the sun. Also, the amount of exposure when you're in the sun. So if you're wearing long sleeve and pants, you're not really going to get that amount that you need. Also, the closer you are to the equator. So, if you're in Florida or you're down in the islands, the amount of vitamin D that you get from the sun is going to be higher. So that's why it's recommended just to go ahead and get tested and see what your levels are, so you can kind of play with your supplementation and being out in the sun, and then recheck in about 90 days to see where that level is at. But let's talk about some foods that you can get vitamin D from. Your best bet is going to be high fatty fishes like salmon, herring, halibut, tuna, a cod liver oil. You can get it through egg yolks, you can get it through mushrooms, and you can get it through tofu. All right, so we just talked about some great foods that you can get vitamin D from, but now let's talk about the cofactors that actually help you utilize all the vitamin D that you took in. And that would be the vitamin K, the zinc, the magnesium, and vitamin A. So we'll start with vitamin K. You can get those through animal meats and also fermented foods. This would be things like sauerkraut and even kombucha. With zinc, your highest dose of zinc you're going to get with oysters. So if you don't like oysters or you don't eat them that often, you could get it through lean meats, poultry, seeds like pumpkin seeds and sesame seeds. Magnesium you're going to get through spinach, almonds, avocados, and even sweet potatoes. Now, magnesium is one of the most important minerals in our body. It's another thing that you should get checked because it controls protein synthesis. It controls a lot. It's a natural muscle relaxer, so it can calm the body down. It controls muscle health and also nerve health. It can even control your blood glucose levels. So make sure you're definitely getting your magnesium in. Vitamin A would be sweet potatoes, spinach, so we've mentioned both of those before already, and then also you're going to get a high dose from carrots. So I hope that was good information for you. Go ahead and start implementing all these foods into your diet and go out and get some sunlight. It's a lot of things to think about and it can be kind of overwhelming. So that's why I mentioned supplementation is another great option. Definitely vitamin D supplementation is a great thing. Specifically, if you're going to get a vitamin D supplement, you really want it with K2, so that's vitamin K2. And what this does is it helps put the vitamin D into the bone rather than getting it clogged up in your arteries or soft tissue. So vitamin D supplement with K2 would be your perfect option. Now we work with Aceva, which is a amazing supplement company that's all medical grade, high quality supplements. And they have, and this is what I take, a vitamin D with K2 supplement. It's mixed in with olive oil and you just use a dropper and put it under your tongue. That's one option you can do. Now, if you want something that has, encompasses all of those cofactors that I just talked about, they also have a supplement called Bone Matrix. And this has all of those in there. So this is a way that you're ensuring that you're getting all of those cofactors and vitamin D and all the things you need to create healthy bone without having to think so much about your diet and what you're putting into your system. If you're interested in getting either one of those supplements or you want to learn more about other supplements that we have, I'm going to put a link down below for Aceva's website. I'll even put my affiliate code. This is actually going to get you a discount on anything that you order as well. If you have any questions about what I talked about, the supplements, or if you actually want to go and get tested, I can get that set up for you. Just reach out to me and we'll get that set up to make sure that you are getting the right amount of what you need. You're not overdoing it, you're not underdoing it, you're not deficient. We'll just see where you're at and we'll come up with a plan for you. All right.